Hello and welcome to the next edition of Athletics Heroes Meet the Fundraising Stars of Wigan Athletic. Over the last couple of weeks, the Wigan Athletic fans have been absolutely immense in fundraising for this football club. The Wigan Athletic Supporters Club Let's Hang On Appeal has raised over £180,000. That amount of money is incredible, and considering it's in a pandemic as well, the generosity that has been shown by not only Wigan fans but football fans across the country will be always eternally grateful. And I'm delighted today to be joined by Martin Tarbuck from the Mudhutter magazine fanzine, which has been one of the best Wigan Athletic fanzines that's been running over the couple of years. And Martin's been absolutely outstanding in his own fundraising efforts. So, Martin, first and foremost, thanks for joining me. And can you give us a little bit of insight of what you've been doing on the fundraising effort?
Yeah, hi Jay. Hello everybody. Yeah, I mean, I kind of am quite humbled by that introduction because I think I'm just doing what I do, doing what we do, really. I suppose. My insight, my inspiration is obviously somehow I'm good at fundraising, which is weird because by trade I'm an accountant, so I do deal with money, but other people's, and I'm quite a quiet person. But I suppose probably the kind of the catalyst behind this is obviously the Joseph Gold stuff, and it's not just that. There was stuff prior to that. There was Anthony Ramsdale. There were things other people did, like Barry Worthington walk, but like the Emma Hoolan appeal was a big thing one year where a few hundred people walked to Bolton and helped find 250 grand for a girl from Wigan, which again is stunning. And you never fail to get humbled by the way people can be generous. And we're talking, these are people who in Wigan, people haven't got a lot, but it's always those people who give the most. So obviously I've done the two fundraising walks for Joseph's Goal, and a third was planned. Coincidentally to Barnsley in April, which we might have got a warm welcome these days. Who knows? I'm not sure what they might have been chucking bricks at us given the recent events. But yeah, obviously that fell by the wayside. But the previous two walks raised 36 grand. We were hoping to raise another 36 this year. Obviously, I've been appointed an ambassador of the charity, which is kind of my perhaps a proudest moment. And I don't know quite how I do it. And obviously, there are a team of like 6 to 12 people who I work with on the fanzine, and they all contribute in their own way. And some of them are kind of quite from unionised background or good kind of in the communities. And it's not just me. There's perhaps like a dozen of us who we bounce off ideas, and we're good at what we do. And when things like this happen, we do kind of really like to get stuck in. So I can't take much credit. It was more a case with the walks that Paul Kendrick got me involved, and then just gave me the hospital pass base and said, "There you go, get on with it." Because Paul at the time, certainly a year or two ago, he had a newborn baby, and he's got three children, and one of which is obviously severely disabled. So it was like, well, can I do this? Can I free up the time? And it's challenging, but throughout the years, all the fundraising that we've done, I must admit, at the back of my mind, it's always like, well, one day we might actually have to raise funds for the club itself, because even when David Whelan was here, he's not going to last forever. And we've also been in this place prior to David Whelan with the infamous Stan McEwen buckets, and years prior to that we very often had struggles just to sort of meet the wage bill each month in much leaner times. And it's not something I've wished upon, but it's something that certainly in the last 2 years the warning signs have been there since the second IEC got involved. And I've got to say, across the board, that the fans have been fantastic. And there are still different groups, and I think we're talking about it offline in terms of different podcasts, different groups, different Facebook groups, and there's different websites, and you do get these rivalries, and things do kind of spark up. But to use a telecoms word from a day job, I mean, the convergence amongst the fans has been fantastic, in that we're all, very often people are doing the whole thing, but all those little fallouts we have over team selections or substitutions or views on the manager, they've all been kind of put to one side, and everyone has done the bit, and it's amazing. And for me, when we came in this, I've just basically thrown my hand in with the supporters club and said, look, what can I do? I've not got much time. At the time, my wife's a reception teacher working 5 days a week, and she's a hard-working teacher, so got 2 young kids, and I'm working full time. So I'm looking after the children who are like, one's not even started school yet. So I'm having to cook for them, having to keep the house running while my wife's out to work. I've also got a full-time job, and obviously I'm working from home at the minute. And it's like, well, I don't have much time to do this, but ultimately, the last few years we've kind of raised the red flags around the new owners, and we've said, well, you need some kind of independent fans group association to hold them to account. But I've got to say, you know, the supporters club in Christ have been absolutely fantastic, and all the people that are kind of either on the outside or in the inside, all doing their own thing, like, you know, my mate Dylan, who's obviously got a travel kind of entrepreneur, and people like there's loads of guys on Twitter like Harry Robbo and the Liverpool fan from Swindon, and they're all doing these investigations, which they're probably not going to find the smoking gun, but it's kind of raising awareness and keeping us in the headlines. And obviously the big ask is around fundraising, and to initially go out there, the supporters club are like, well, we need 100 grand. That is a daunting figure. You know, it's I don't know, as an accountant, I always think, well, it's only say a tenner per fan, but it's still asking for people to donate money at a time when we're in a global pandemic. A lot of people have lost their jobs, or they're on furlough at best. A lot of people can't find a job, and like I say, Wigan is not a well-off town. Most people are like minimum wage or less, and asking them to find money, 100 grand seemed daunting, but as ever, people put hands in the pockets. We kind of got that money quite within a few days, which is astonishing. It's slowed down to a bit of a trickle now, but being positive, you look at what we've done, and we're at 181,433, I think, before I came on. So suddenly we're kind of less than 19 grand off hitting £200,000, and then maybe 69,000 off reaching £250,000. And the tricky thing is, essentially, you're going back to the same people, as in Wigan Athletic fans and other football fans with general benevolence, and you're asking them to dip deeper into the pockets. But you know, that's the way it's going to be. And I'm thinking, for people who are working, it's going to be payday on Friday. So let's see if we can get, if everyone can just put 10, 20 quid in, and you get a few thousand people do that. And, you know, we've got to kind of look at the multiples here in terms of either getting a small number of people to put a lot of money in, or a large number of people just keep putting a little bit in, and we'll get there. And you know, we've been clear from the outset, it's not going to pay the players' wages, but it can keep the club running. And it will need to keep running over the summer. So, you know, you need somebody to cook the meals for the players, to keep the training environment good. You need security people. You need kind of people to cut the grass, deal with contracts and paperwork, pay the milkman. There's so much that needs doing, which are all the little things that just hopefully keep that environment of the football club running something like normal. And, you know, everyone has been fantastic. And for me, I just keep trying to come up with ideas, harebrained ones, if that, to try and help that along. And the wall was the one I came up with, and that's now, you know, 14 grand, a few hundred people doing it. In my head, there was a way, and I've not actually done this yet, to sort of think about approaching past players and asking them if they can give a little more, particularly those that are like, you know, in the Premier League or played in the Premier League and have a decent, you know, have made a decent living off the back of Wigan Athletic. And I don't want it to be begging. I just hope it can be to sort of give something back. But yeah, the more people that are doing things, the better. And there's lots of people doing things and selling things kind of off unofficial merchandise maybe. But, you know, my good mate, Tat, the cartoonist, he's raised £2 grand on his own, just doing his artistic prints and things like that. So there's lots of heroes out there, and I don't consider myself one of them. I just consider myself fortunate that I can find a little bit of time to help, really.
It's been absolutely outstanding from an outsider looking at the work you've been doing. It's been nothing short of phenomenal, and I'd like to ask if you can maybe explain a little bit more of the Wall of Hope for people who won't know.
Yeah, I actually wrote down about 8 ideas and then went on a Zoom call with the sports club, and that was the one that stood out. Some of them were kind of non-starters, some of them might still happen, but that was the one where I thought about, when I talk about multiples, it's like if you could get, say, 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 ex-players to donate £2 grand, then you've got 100 grand there, which, again, I've not approached the players, and I wouldn't do. You know, I'd probably have to find somebody else. But I know, speaking with Jonathan, and you speak to Mark Hayes, for example, you know, even if we got a few players to donate 200 quid, and I just thought it's got to be affordable to the fans. You have got to give them something in return, because once people just throw money at something, it's like, well, you know, I've donated now, I've got bills to pay, I've got mouths to feed, so I can't keep throwing money into it. So I've only spoke to Jonathan and the administrators and the sports club about it, and obviously it's wholly contingent on a new owner coming in and again being kind of supportive of the idea. So I can't guarantee it will even happen, but you'd like to think any owner with the salt would kind of say, yeah, I recognise this. And maybe the new owners or owners, whoever came in, they'd they would be kind of willing themselves to put £2,000 up to do it. But I believe we've got a building firm that's offered £5,000. We just don't know what format it will take yet, and I'd probably ask people to vote on it. What do you think of this idea? Jonathan used a term about putting it on the apron around the stadium, which I didn't know what that means, but I think what it technically means is kind of that somewhere on the brickwork on the overhang, so it would actually be around the stadium rather than a wall. So you've been going through the turnstile, you see some names above it of people who've helped donated. So there's lots of ways we can do it, but the basic concept behind it is you put in some money, and in theory you get your name, and it can be, and there's a number of options there. In theory, you get the name on a wall or some kind of memento of the time that the football club was in dire straits, and you kind of put some money towards helping to keep it going, really. And there are different options, and I've not followed it up as much as I should, to be honest. I should be communicating, because I'm getting a lot of emails, and there's ways I can change it. I'm thinking of changing the tiers so that it's actually £20, £102, £200, 2002, 20, sort of things, that it keeps the 2020 theme going. But because lots of people are just throwing random money in, but I don't think that's important right now. The important thing is that we get the money in, and once this has been done and we've reached a point, then we'll say, right, well, we need to message everyone who's donated. We need to ask them what message they want, and obviously if they put more in, they can either have a bigger font or more characters. We've got football teams chipping in. There's one or two people who, just normal fans, who have actually raised £2,000 because they've just gone round and done it, and they would obviously need to be something special. But there's that Wigan way about people saying to me, like, do you think people think I'm showing off a bit if I put £2,000 in? I'm like, well, we'll worry about that later. Just get it done. Get the money in, and we'll worry about that. So, what will happen when it's concluded is, and again, the figure in my head was 20,200 by the end of August, and we're kind of 75% the way there. But as with the main fund, there's no upper limit. Just give what you can. Once it's concluded, then we will look at, obviously collating what people want on there. I've done this stuff before about books, and you have to kind of obviously scrutinise stuff in terms of decency, and also keep people honest, because when I did a sort of a pie book, it was a crowdfunded thing, and I said, oh well, you can have 30 words at the back, 30 characters at the back, just with your name on. And some people took that to be 30 words, and I used to get a full paragraph on them. So it's like, look, 20 quid, if we're including the cost of the brick and inscribing it, that alone might cost 20 quid. So can you please just put your name on there? But it's just a little token gesture, and perhaps an opportunity of kind of upselling the fundraising by offering to give people something back for it, and hoping they would do something. But so phase one will be to collect those names at the end. Phase two is like, right, what do we want this to look like? Do we want it to be a wall? Is it a wall in the stadium? Is it a newly built wall? Could it even be on the floor of the stadium, like kind of a wall of fame thing? So you walk past and the names on the brickwork. Potentially we've got a company to pay for the materials, but then you also need a really talented artist or graphic designer, who I do know one or two, but this is probably really grand scale. If anyone Googles kind of the Brian Bevan statue in Warrington, one of the supporters club committee put that my way, and something similar to that would be great. And it could be a collage of the players who helped, well, hopefully help save us if the points deduction gets overturned. It could just be something, we could have a number of kind of options, and we let those who've contributed vote on it. But so we don't know exactly what it looks like, and it might take 6-12 months to come to fruition once because we've got another month or two of literally getting the club on some kind of footing. But what I will say is, if it is next year when it happens, then hopefully social distancing can be relaxed, and we can have a kind of an unravelling ceremony, and we can have a big party, and we can celebrate and remember about what an horrible year 2020 was for everyone, not just for Wigan Athletic, but particularly for us.
Especially Wigan Athletic. And I like to say what a special idea that is, because not only by donating you help save the football club, you get an opportunity to cement yourselves, almost literally cement yourselves, into the history books as one of the people who helped save Wigan Athletic from potential extinction. And I can't express the importance of obviously donating and obviously keeping Wigan Athletic's story on the forefront of everyone's minds too, because in cases like this, Wigan Athletic could often go forgotten. I know Berry's case eventually faded out of the media, and that's the last thing we want. We want to keep on top of it and keep our names firmly in the media, whether it's BBC Sport, Talk Sport, anything. And I'd like to thank Martin for the excellent words and some of the excellent campaigns. And the next thing I'd like to ask you is, what is Wigan Athletic to you? How can you describe this football club?
Yeah, it only, I guess it means everything to somebody, but it means different things. And I never kind of I really don't know how I fell into it. It was like 30 years ago, and we weren't a successful team then, but I lived in Springfield, and first generation fan. My dad was more of a cricket and oral rugby union man, and that's the way he was. And I got into football, and like most kids in the playground, you kind of get into Liverpool United. But then I realised a football club on my doorstep, not having had anyone take me, and then I got into Latics at the age 12, 13, which is quite old. But then when you've not got a parent to take you there, it was kind of mid 80s. But I mean, what we've been through is absolutely phenomenal and unique. And I'll be careful this doesn't try and attract any criticism, but I always kind of say, can you imagine living in Wigan and not supporting Wigan Athletic, which is not meant to be disrespectful of everything Wigan Rugby's done, and it's not meant to be disrespectful of anyone who doesn't support Wigan Athletic, but there is not a club in the country, maybe even the world, of our size that has achieved all we've done. And I'm not talking about the size we are now or the size we were in the Premier League, the size we are when we started. And obviously David Whelan had a big influence on that, and he put some money up. But compared to what most owners put in now, it's peanuts. It's like nothing. And he did it. The only shame was he wasn't around a bit early when Jack Walker did the same at Blackburn, because literally 100 million then brought Premier League title, whereas 100 million now pays the wage bill for a year. And that's the difference, the reason football's gone mad. But we've had a unique experience, and sorry, that's a Roberto word, but we've been on such a roller coaster. And much as some people like to focus on the downsides, and this is probably the worst of the worst at the minute, why would you focus on that when we've had so many good experiences? And as long as everyone can readjust to the future, we will have lots of good experiences in the future, even if we have to go right back to basics and start again. Which again, with my time limitations, he always said, I'm not having anything to do with that. I've got friends at Chester and FC United, and I've been over to see games there, and you literally think, well, we'll just have a few pints to them and enjoy everything. But they're literally running around like headless chickens because they've got a football club to run and the volunteers. So that would be a very tough outcome, but I'm sure it would happen because there's got to always be a Wigan Athletic. You've read the history. There were 4 or 5 clubs before Wigan Athletic, and they all fell by the wayside. This club's 88 years old now. It would be lovely to get to 100, and it would be lovely to do that as a league club. We worked too hard to get in the football club to lose it. But yeah, what does it mean to me? I've prattled on a bit there, but for me, it's not necessarily about the football. It's about spending some time with your friends, people you've grown up with, lifelong friends, and having a laugh and having a beer and not letting the result rule your day. And just knowing that you're supporting your town, and we've put in a lot, but we've got it back 10 times over the last few years with the things that most fans never expected would ever be possible, like winning FA Cup, like being in the Premier League, like going into Europe. Of course, we got relegated, but we've then won yet more titles. I mean, compare Wigan Athletic to Oldham, who for 20 years were in the same division, and now they're probably going to do another 20 in League Two. And that, the poor buggers, you know what I mean? It's like when we've had all this, and unfortunately, if you climb up 4 divisions, you are probably going to end up going down 1 or 2. It's just we are a victim of our own success, but we've had amazing success beyond what we've deserved. But there's also a real community here of people who literally love the club, and it means everything to us. And the sooner we get this club back to some kind of normality, then the better. And I really hope any potential buyer looks at what the fans are about as well, because the kind of the stereotypes. Wigan's got no fans, can't fill the ground, but pound for pound, we've got as much passion as anyone else. And I'd even argue more, because we don't take the lazy option that many people do in Wigan or any other towns. We don't. We are the fans that, people commenting about as being poorly supported. And I'm like, well, why are the fans who go poor supporters? It's the ones who don't go who you should be aiming that out. And they'll say, like, the town of Wigan. And what can we do? We turn up, we give our support, and we stick together. And, we do have a really strong siege mentality towards within the club. which is necessary when you're a small club who punches above the weight. But that community spirit, I'm hoping we've all learned some hard lessons from what's happened, but I'm hoping that community spirit will last for a very long time, get us through some tough times, and be grateful for both what we've had in the past and what we will hopefully have in the future.
Absolutely. For me, Wigan Athletic has always been very special. And in terms of the fans, you mentioned how there's the stereotypes of the empty seats, no fans, no history. But it's always been quality over quantity. I'd rather have the fans we have than have 50,000 more of us, but with half the passion. I believe that we've got a very special bond with not only each other, but the players, the staff, management, not just this year's squad, previous years. I mean, the 2015 to 16 League One winning side, the relationship they had to the fans were very special. And I just want to thank you for all the work you've been doing for the football club, because I know it's your pride and joy, like a lot of people's, and it means so much to us. And these times have been very bleak. It's been very upsetting for every Wigan Athletic fan, to be honest with you. I bet you can't really find a Wigan fan who's not probably shed a tear throughout this, because we can't believe this is happening to our football club. It's absolutely unbelievable. The way the fans have rallied together, we might not always agree who starts at 3 p.m. We might not agree who Paul Cook decides to bring on in the 75th minute. We might not decide on Joe Geldart not getting enough game time. But one thing we can decide is that we all love this football club and we never want to see this die. We want to live for many more years. I certainly don't want to be not having a club to support for the rest of my life. And that's a position we're looking at the moment, because obviously we've got so many generations of fans that go to our games, and to have the potential of, I don't know, if I have kids in the next couple of years, if they can't get to see Wigan Athletic and their kids can't get to see Wigan Athletic, it's a real generational issue that we may face. So to fundraise for this football club is so important, not just to myself, to every Wigan Athletic fan. And I don't think you'd ever realise how much it meant to every Wigan fan by donating. And we've seen football fans, I know Brighton fans have donated, Sheffield Wednesday, fans from all over the country. And it's so important to see that solidarity, because it could happen to any football club. If it can happen to Wigan Athletic, it could sadly happen to your club, because it's hard to say that it was a well-run club, because at the moment you can argue with the money that's involved in football, no club is well-run as such, because it is absolutely bonkers with the wages we're looking at the moment. Prima donna players getting paid ridiculous amounts of money, especially when you consider the NHS workers who have been working so hard during the pandemic, and they definitely deserve a bit of a pay rise, but that's a completely different issue for a different day to raise. But the main message I'd like to say is we've got to keep on donating and keep on working hard to save this football club, and it can only be done through ourselves. It's always important to focus on the positives. Everything at the moment is out of our hands as fans. We're a bit helpless, but I always say, let's control the controllables. Let's do what we can. And the fans have rallied together in ways I've never seen it before, and Martin's been a huge part of that, as have many fans. And I'm just happy I can share their stories, really, because the whole point of these podcasts is to let people have their stories heard when they deserve it the most. And Martin, the one thing I'd like to ask you to end the podcast is how have you been? Because obviously you've got a full-time job. Your wife is a reception teacher. You've got 2 young children who are probably undoubtedly running riot at the moment with the coronavirus lockdown. And to dedicate so much of your time to this football club when you've already got so many commitments on your shoulders, you deserve a round of applause. You deserve a knighthood. And I know you say earlier you don't see yourself as a hero, but it don't matter what you see. In many ways, I see you as a hero, as will a lot of Wigan Athletic fans. And when Wigan Athletic do come out of this in a few years' time, your name will be remembered for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think firstly I'd like to praise you, Jay, for all the stuff you're doing with mental health and putting the content out there, because there is a need now, if there hasn't been for the past few years, for all of our fans to become more educated about what buying and running a football club entails, and how you have got to take an interest in football finance, in football governance, because it's only when something like this happens you're like, how did that happen? And the answer is because we've not mobilised, we've not been judgmental enough. You might think we can't control it, but we're flagging things now, and the various internet detectives are flagging stuff that we didn't believe. And I think in my head, and I didn't mean it in a vindictive way, it's like, well, I've done the years. I've been doing a fanzine like 20 years now, and we've always been very interested in football finance. We've always featured things about clubs who've been struggling, and we've tried to highlight it and what needs to be done. And people need to be kind of interested and concerned about this. And I also said, well, I've done my bit. As you say, I've got a family now, I've got a mortgage, wife and kids, very busy. I'm like, well, I've just got to take a back seat if and when it does happen. But obviously, now it has happened, I'm like, right, well, what can I do? You just got to find time, haven't you, to really do it and do things that you can, and things that everyone's trying to do what they're good at. So Tat's doing prints, fanzine lads and the supporters club, and supporters club in particular have worked tirelessly. They're working day and night. And I just make sure I keep having words with the missus, say, look, I need half an hour to do this. But then I'm also having times now where Saturday phone went off for 2 hours. We watched film as a family. Yesterday played rounders with some of the school mums and dads, and just chilled out for a bit. And I literally removed my phone from my person so that I couldn't look at it. And I think I'd advise everyone to do that, because obviously, I am on social media a lot, and whereas I've had certain other fans claiming I'm getting upset and I'm ranting, I think the thing is with Twitter, with my account and Wiganers in general, we have, going back to the fans thing, we have a great reputation amongst other fans, but it's a kind of a 1 in 10 thing in that, it's the same with the fanzine really. 10% of Wigan fans like to buy it, like to read it, love it. The other 90% are more, whether it's just not a thing for them, a fanzine. But I think it's the same on social media, and in terms of the stuff we put out there. Other fans love it, but it's that 10%. It's not the 90% who are the kind of Sky generation, the banter merchants who, they spend all day, Wigan, no fans. So many fans of true clubs who get it absolutely love what we're doing, and they're amazed, and they are behind us, and they are the same ones from Brighton and Sheffield Wednesday who are chipping in towards our fund because they recognise that we are the same. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's been tough. And I'm just conscious I've got a full-time job as well. And there's some days where I get distracted by this, or even I don't feel like working, because it's, as you say, there is a massive mental health impact. The example I'd give is, the other week when the Daily Mail said, oh, you're not going to get points deducted till after the season. And everyone's like, hooray. And then 10 minutes later, the statement comes out and said, no, you are. What we meant is it's immediately after the season. And stuff like that can't be doing anyone's mental health any good, which, considering the AFL is supposedly an advocate of supporting mental health, is pretty disgusting. And it's like, you've got to somehow detach and let it run its course and take some time out to do something else. It's beautiful that the football club consumes so many people, but don't spend all day reading what Alan Nixon said, because even he doesn't have any influence. You know what I mean? It's like you've got to let the professional process do its work and not get overrun. Don't let your head go wild with scandal and rumours. Don't take good news too optimistically. Don't take bad news too dishearteningly. Just try and keep a level mind and say, we've got to let it run its course. Obviously, Friday could be an emotional day with the QC appeal, but there will be good times ahead. There might be bad times ahead, but as I keep saying, and occasionally get a negative comment back, as long as we've got a football club at the end of it, then we will get through this. It's a terrible shit. It's a disaster what's happened. These guys are basically, we were a club on the cusp, really. We finished 13th. Had it not been for this, we might have even finished a place too high. We would have gone into next year top half with a solid, stable squad, a load of promising youth team players, and we may well have sold a player or two to balance the books, but we would have sold them at market value, and we would have invested half of it in newer players who we can bring on and develop. And we were just in such a good place as a club. You might say the Premier League is better, but that was kind of perhaps unsustainable. It might be something we could do in the future, but we were in a really, really good place, and it's devastating for everyone. But I mean, my message would be that, keep your heads up. We'll get through it. And I'm human like anyone else. I have times when I'm like properly upset about it, and it's kind of consuming. But you've got to think, well, ultimately, a football club, it's your kind of outlet, it's your release, and it hurts not being able to have that every Saturday, even without a global pandemic. But it will return one day, and just try and think positively, act positively, and do what we all can to help move in the right direction, and don't dwell on negative comments, and don't get in arguments with rival football fans. That's something I've done in the past few days, because it's like, you put something out there, and there might be 50 people who like it, but I do tend to focus on the 2 people, usually from clubs beginning with B, who like to challenge it, And I need to stop doing that because, again, it's time with my family that I'm neglecting. It's time that could be doing some productive stuff. And finally, just to go back on the fundraising, Jay, I mean, I'm fine for you to praise me. I can take that. But my ideas perhaps raised about 8, 9, 10% of what the total was going to be. There's another 90% out there, which the supporters club have done magnificently with. And obviously, it was all front loaded. And as I say, people perhaps saying, well, I've donated now, I can't donate again. But what I can say to individuals is you can do your own thing. You can, if I can work out how to set up an umbrella, a little sub crowdfunder on that page, me being a technical Luddite, if I can work out how to do it, so can you. So, if people out there can keep doing sponsored runs or, potentially, I'm not sure about the legalities, but selling things, making cakes traditionally and stuff, having raffles and things like that within the realms of the law, if you can get together with your friends and find ways to save money, then nobody's precious about this. I mean, I feel like, well, I've gone off and done my own idea, but every penny goes straight into that overall pot, less perhaps a little bit back if we need to pay for some paint and stuff like that. But again, I think we've got to act now and worry about how we're going to do it later, really. And if there's people who can do stuff that can just raise a few quid here and there, every penny counts. And let's get to 200k, let's get to 250k in the next few weeks. And then, as I say, it's nowhere enough to buy a football club or even to run it, but it really helps. Every penny helps just for literally players coming in the morning and being able to have a brew. That's even a quid is a bag of PG tips for Paul Cook, if you see what I mean, which might keep him in a better mood. So, everyone needs to just do the bit and keep doing the bit until we get out of this. And, like I say, I know not everyone is financially able to, but the upside of coronavirus is people aren't going out. They've had holidays cancelled. You would probably most fans would have spent a lot more now travelling to away games and drinking beer. And it's like, when it's payday, perhaps put 10, 20 quid away. And obviously, season tickets are the next one, but I've tried to put something out there about that, but I think I'm perhaps getting a bit ahead of myself. And Jonathan and Caroline and the Sports Club are like, well, yeah, we've discussed this, and it's not easy, but it's reassuring to know there's hundreds, if not thousands, of fans out there who are ready and waiting to go to donate season ticket money, because that is a big ticket thing. It will put £1 million in the club's coffers if we can get 5,006 people committing without knowing what division we're in, or even if we've got a football club. If there's a safe way to do it, then a regulated way to do it, then that is it's a real statement of intent and a good story. We might not be ready for it yet, but if we are, then yeah, if you have money and you're looking to get a season ticket, then that's hopefully what we'll move to in the next couple of weeks, and that will add a whole range of stability while we keep chipping away at the kind of the running costs of the club. But it's, I'm not the hero. Everyone who's donated what they can do and is doing what they can are the heroes collectively, and I'm just a mouthpiece, which I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm sorry, there's more important things to worry about, and I'm just like doing my bit in the way I know how, along with the rest of the lads who I surround myself with, to try and get this football club back onto an even keel. But yeah, thanks again, Jay. Thanks for all the brilliant your work doing. Like I say, not to put it a patronising way, but the more education the fans can get on this is better. The more points of view, the likes of Lisa and Andy Burnham and Kieran Maguire coming on your podcast. I'd urge everyone to spend some time listening to this, because it gets you in the mood and it gets you kind of thinking positively and thinking also critically about how we've got in this situation and making sure it never happens again.
Absolutely, and I'd like to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I just hope someone who's watching this will be inspired by the story of Martin. And obviously, Martin's one of the many stars that have starred on the programme Latics Heroes Meet the Fundraising Stars of Athletic. Jacob and Emma Benbow. Jacob, just 6 years old, did a garage sale where he sold his own belongings and toys to raise over £400 for Athletic. You got the likes of Barry Worthington from the Progress with Unity podcast. He's been doing excellent work. The list goes on and on, really, the amazing people who've been fundraising. And I'd just like to say, if you are inspired by Martin's stories or some of the other stories, you can fundraise yourself. It's very easy to set up a crowdfunding page which goes directly to an Athletic, or it's getting your running shoes on. I know running is not everyone's cup of tea. It's definitely not my cup of tea. I can't even run a bath. But you've got to kind of focus on the point of view that it could do so much good for so many people. And not only is running good for your own exercise as well, it's good for your mental health too, because there's nothing more beneficial to your mental health than doing exercise, because it just gets you out of the house first and foremost, and it distracts your mind, even if it's just for a short spell. And I'd like to thank Martin as well for raising the mental health point too, because during a time like this, not only coronavirus pandemic, but during an administration, mental health is so important because it only takes a simple message to check if someone's okay. It's a very unprecedented time. No one knows what's really going on apart from the big professionals involved in the case directly. And I think it's so important that we're looking out for each other, and the fans have been excellent in doing that. The mental health group is just one of the great initiatives that the fans have been running, and I'm glad I've been able to play a small part in that. And I think as well, it's important to say if you'd like to join the mental health group, it's welcome to absolutely anyone. It don't matter who you are, you can join, and we'll be happy to have you. Emerson Boyce, he's a proud member, as are a lot of people. And even if it's just a chat with new people you've never met, a chance to make new friends, I recommend it to anyone. We've had over 300 members across various platforms now, WhatsApp, Facebook, with most of the 300 members being male, which is a massive victory for us because in life, stigma behind mental health mainly lies upon men. It's mainly attached to men because often when a man is struggling with their mental health, they're simply told to man up. That's not right. This is pure ignorance towards mental health. We need to stop this. It's no more man up. Let's all get together. Progress with unity, as a Latics saying would be, keep the face together. And throughout this, the fans have been excellent on the fundraising point of view and just a human level. I've chatted to so many wonderful Wigan Athletic fans who have not only opened up about their own experiences with mental health, but they've helped fundraise for the club. They've been looking out for fellow fans. We've had so many nice messages and so much unity, and that's what you want at a time like this. I actually live in West Sawton, which is in the middle between Wigan and Bolton. So I actually went to school in Bolton as one of two Wigan fans in the entire high school. It was great when we won, but when we lost, I'd probably phone in sick all the time. And I think having seen what happened at Bolton, the fans kind of almost got down each other's throats. There was a bit of a blame culture. It's very easy to point the finger at people when things are going wrong and when things are really desperate. But the fans have been the complete opposite. We've all had the same message of let's fundraise together, let's raise awareness for what our football club. And I think that's what we'll all remember in 20 years' time, because when we look back on the year 2020, the coronavirus pandemic was absolutely awful. So many lives have been lost and so many people have been affected by that in so many different ways. But in terms of football on the pitch and off the pitch, when Wigan Athletic fans look back on 2020, it won't be when Wigan Athletic went into administration. That'll be the real talking point. It'll be how the fans all rallied together as one to help save this football club and secure the long-term future. And I think that's how I'm going to end the podcast today on that note. Let's continue fundraising. Let's save this football club and let's secure the long-term future of Wigan Athletic for my grandkids, for my children in the future, for your children, for anyone who loves football, because it's not just the case of football rivals anymore. It's a massive part of the community, and to lose that, it'd be a massive blow, and that would be a massive understatement to any football fan, any Wigan Athletic fan. We are in a really helpless position at the moment, but we've turned it into a really helpful situation in how the fans have come together. And Jimmy, I don't know why I called Jimmy there, but that was completely random. Martin Tarbuck has been...
That's my stage name, it's fine.
Stage name, yeah. It always confused me, to be honest with you, for the viewers at home, because I never know what to call him. Jimmy Martin. Everyone has a stage name. I think I might need to get one soon. And I just think it's been really inspirational to hear your stories. The Wall of Hope is such a great initiative. And I will leave links in the description if you'd like to get involved in that. I know I'm going to get involved in that on payday. And it's so important to kind of spread that message and keep on going. And I've been inspired by Martin today, as will a lot of people. And the fundraising effort's been phenomenal. And I'll leave a link in the description too for that. And it's been wonderful to do this podcast today. And I can only thank Martin, and I can't thank him enough for what he's done for not only the football club, but for coming on the podcast today. He's always been a top help for me in my young journalist career. And I can't thank him enough for that too. So all I'm going to say is, last but not least, I've rambled on a bit. I know I could talk for England, and especially when it's something I'm passionate about and something I love so dearly. And we're going to say Wigan Athletic. I know it's a really bleak time at the moment. There's a lot of people who are worried, scared, upset, anxious, distressed. We don't know what's going to happen. And for me, the solidarity that was shown is incredible. And I'm just going to end it on a positive note, because let's focus on the positives. Let's control the controllables. And It's been such a difficult few weeks, but we've got through it together so far. The next few weeks will be really tough as well, but we'll get through it together too. This is what Wigan Athletic do. In times of adversity, diversity and difficulty, we stick together as one, and that's what makes this football club so special. Thank you so much for watching.